So you want to make a working door for your VRChat world? Not a problem. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to be making today. I already have these working and set up as a prefab that'll be on my Patreon. So we're going to look at how these work, and then we're going to remake them. So we are going to make a total of 4 different scripts, and they do a similar thing, but in a different way. For example, we're going to need local and network scripts, and then I prepared the script to handle single doors and double doors depending on what you do. Now this isn't my first time making doors, but these are going to work way differently and be incredibly user friendly compared to some other examples I've made in the past and that are out there in general. So let's take a look at how they're going to work. Essentially, right now, they're going to be working on a simple interact feature. And when you interact with the door, they can slide any direction at any speed. So for example, I have this one set up a little differently to demo it out as well. When we trigger the interact on this one, it slides both doors up instead of out, depending on how you want your doors to work. And you could easily invert this to have it go down. For the single doors, they work very similarly, where we can adjust them and have them slide any way we want. Now the reason we have 2 of them is because one is networked and one is local, depending on what you're going to use it for in your world. And while these are custom prefabs, you can apply these scripts to anything you want to act this way. In other words, if you have your own doors or want to make simple cubes into doors, it will work too. Now, before we get started on the complete custom build, because it is going to take a little while and is fairly complex, if you want to skip all that, this will be available as drag and drop play on my Patreon. Let me go ahead and show you what you can expect from that. So we're in our project world now where we have been working. As you can see, the doors are not here anywhere. If you're a Patreon subscriber, what you would expect is to get a download file in the form of a Unity package. For example, this. Let's go ahead and drag it into our assets. We'll be greeted by an import screen, and as you can see, it's pulling in all the textures, materials, and objects, along with the scripts necessary to run them. So we're going to go ahead and hit import. Once it's done importing, we'll see this new door folder inside our project. From there, we can just drag and drop our prefabs, and you can see the materials and everything is lining up as we would expect it to, perfectly. At this point, we can go ahead and hit play and make sure the actual functionality with the scripts is also plug and play. So let's go back to it and just test. And of course, it is. So not only do we have the double door, but we have our single door examples. And while these are the exact same door, they work differently. One is local and one is networked. Meaning that if a player were to access the network door, it would open on everybody's screen. And if it was only the local version, it would only be on their side. So they could go through it like it was open, but to everybody else, it would still be closed. Now we can go ahead and exit our play, and we'll look at how these are done. We are going to remake these with simple cubes. But again, if you don't want to go through the hassle of doing it yourself, you can find this on my Patreon, and it will be drag and droppable. All you have to do is take these scripts and put it on whatever you want. So we are going to recreate this without a prefab object using a cube. So let's go ahead and grab our cube. Here it is, and we're just going to adjust it. Now, something to note is the actual direction everything slides in is controlled by this slide offset, as well as the speed, and these are easily adjustable. But how it moves will depend on the direction your object is naturally facing. You'll see what we mean as soon as we get the script implemented. So the first thing we need to do is make sure it has a box collider with is trigger off. And then we need to add a toggle, interact toggle to be specific. You may want to change the interaction text here to open door or something of that nature. Other than that, you can leave this blank. We won't be needing it, but it does have to be on the object. Now we need to add our custom Udon behavior. Of course, make sure you're on Udon C#, hit new program, and let's go ahead and rename this to door single door local and create a script. We're going to match the name here to single door local. Also didn't rename our object, so we'll do that again. I'm not sure what happened there. There we go. Now we need to actually open our script. If you want to copy the code for the single door local, now is your chance. Go ahead and pause the video. Here's the first half, and the rest. Now we need to make sure we save it and then return to our project. The script should load. Then when we scroll down, we'll see we have this door transform, and we need to assign the door we're actually working with here, which would be our door. Now, this is actually all the setup that's required for this part, so we can go ahead and hit play and see what direction it moves so we know how to adjust that. Let's trigger it so it goes to the right. So if you wanted it to go to the left, you could just inverse this and put a negative in front. And if you wanted to go up or forward or back, you can adjust these Y or Z values, while returning this X value to a 0. For example, we can also increase the speed at which it moves very easily just by doing something like this. Now, this covers our local sliding door, but now we have an issue. What if you want the door to open for everybody, or everybody to see the door has been opened? Well, we need a networked one for that. So we're going to go ahead and copy this using exit play mode first. We're going to copy this, move it over, remove our Udon behavior, change the name to networked, and add a new Udon behavior. Follow the same steps as before by adding it, creating a new program, and we are going to change this to networked. Didn't change the name again. That is becoming irritating. Let's go ahead and change that to make sure it matches what we think it is as soon as this is done. There we go. Now we need to actually work with the script. Now this code is going to be slightly longer because of the networking aspect. But again, starting at line 7, make sure this is named to whatever you name your object, and then you can copy the rest. So line 8 down. Okay, make sure we go ahead and save it, and then we're good to return to our project. Accidentally hit a typo at the end of that. Make sure it does not have an S at the bottom of here, so that was me trying to hit Control S and accidentally typed S. That will break it. Alright, now that we have our script in, we need to assign the door. And this is going to work the exact same way as our other door. Now, you might notice this locked feature. That isn't quite implemented yet. It will be controlled by something else, but I figured this video was complicated enough as it was, so I will update that in the future. And the Patreon does get updated regularly, so it may not get a whole video just for this lock feature, or it may. We will have to take that step by step. Now our single doors are working as intended. If you only need single doors, you can pretty much stop at this point, but if you want to learn how to make the double doors, which work differently, well, let's keep going. And for that, we're going to need 2 cubes. So let's go ahead and duplicate this and duplicate it again, except for we want these to be pretty close to each other. And we're going to rename these to double door and double door but not networked. We're gonna have this one as local. So we need to remove our Udon's behavior and add a new one. Double door local is a fine name. Now we need to adjust the script. Again, this is going to be a little bit longer each time because we're getting more complicated as we go. So here's the beginning. Go ahead and pause if you need to. And the end. Now we're going to save it up, close it, let it compile the script. And now you can see here we have 2 doors to assign. So let's go ahead and add our local and then our networked. Now at this point, we should go ahead and test this to make sure it works as we expect. We're going to trigger the interact that we just made. And we actually, it is moving 2 doors, but we accidentally assigned the wrong door. So let's fix that real quick. We have, we misnamed our doors, so we want to fix that. This is single door. That's why naming conventions are important. And this is double door. Okay, so let's go back and fix that. So it's properly referencing the right door. And try again. So as we can see, if we trigger the right thing, now this isn't quite going the right direction. If it was operating like this one, we would expect it to go outwards or up. So how do we fix that? Well, since it's going the opposite direction we want it to go on the x-axis, we simply need to invert it. And now when we try again, we can see it goes out like our prefab example. Now we need a networked version of this. So let's go ahead and work on that on our other door example for our double door. So what we're gonna have to do once again is remove the single door on there that we don't want anymore. We're gonna add another Udon behavior, create a new program, create script, double door, networked, whatever, that's fine. And open it up. Starting at line 8 with a bracket. And then all the way down. You save it, and then go back to your project. Now, in order to test and make sure the networking versions and the local versions are working as intended, we need to simulate having 2 players. So we're going to go ahead and build and test with 2 clients and do that, just to prove it works as we would expect it to. So let's do that. So here we have our door. If we remember correctly, on the left was the local, and on the right was the networked. So if we go ahead and use the networked version, when I go to my other client, you should see that it has opened. Alright, well, we ran into one issue, which is again why working prefabs are so fantastic. As the creator, I still forget to copy steps. So let's close out of our build and test and go fix it. So all we forgot to do was assign our doors, which isn't really a big deal. Let's fix it. We have our local on top, and then our networked. We're going to match it so it works the exact same way as the other one. One more thing we forgot to do was invert our direction. So now that we have our second networked example completely fixed, let's try it again. Alright, so if we click on our network door, it goes out like expected. And if we switch to our other client, we can see it is indeed out like we expect. So let's go ahead and close it, back to our first client, and exactly like we expect. Now let's use the local version. And as we can see, while it's opened on one, it is closed for the local client, which is interesting to note, because depending on what you're trying to do, you're going to want to change the local or networked option. And that's it. A fully networked sliding glass door setup. Whether you're using a single or double panel, it's ready to drop right into your world. This entire system is available as a plug-and-play Unity package over on my Patreon. Just import it, assign your doors, and you're good to go. No extra setup required. If this helped you out, consider subscribing. If you want to support more VRChat tools like this, check out the Patreon. Your support keeps these tutorials coming. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.